deliveries. He says he was acting strange. His coworker said he was acting strange. Though the coworker, I believe, was new on the job. We're going to get into that in a little bit. And I also read an article that said that he supposedly visited his sister's house one day and he just sat there for 30 minutes. There's like weird to me because when I look at things and when I do like my little research and I sit down, I look at different articles and I compare and contrast what I see. Like usually like this is kind of like what my notes look like somewhat. It's all messed up and jumbled up, but it's different various articles and I pull different things and a lot of times I find contradict things or different bits of information. And the dates sometimes kind of like there were different dates on different articles. And the private investigator at one point, I thought he said like he believed there was maybe foul play, but then like he didn't. We're gonna see it in this video, and now they're saying like there is, so it's just like I don't know. It's weird.
Bond, like call logs with Daniel's coworker who says he wasn't making sense the day he disappeared. David says he hasn't looked at that report yet.
I heard rumors about that, but I haven't read that report.
Now, according to the police report, David also said, that's Daniel's father, they have been receiving information from a coworker of Daniel's. He advised that Daniel had been to the job site in Buckeye, but that he had left in the morning and had not come back. I then spoke with Kevin, who is a supervisor with the company. He advised that Ken with the company Weber was the person that had met with Daniel. Ken. I spoke with Ken on the phone. He advised that Daniel had arrived at the site around 9 a.m. and that it was raining. Ken said that Daniel was saying things that did not make sense, like asking if Ken wanted to go rest, and then asked if he wanted to go to Pheonix to rest. Ken advised that Daniel was not making sense with the things he was saying, and that he was talking about things that did not make sense. Ken said that Daniel was there for approximately 15 minutes, and then suddenly left. Ken said he was concerned because of Daniel's behavior and spoke with Steve, who was a project manager, and let Steve know what had happened. Ken said that he continued working and that he was receiving updates throughout the day from Steve. According to Insider, around 3 p.m., Kenneth was made aware that Robinson had not been located and was not responding to texts and calls from work and family. At that point, Ken started to look for Robinson in the desert. Ken followed tire tracks he said were Robinson's near the work site, where Robinson was last seen, heading west. He tried to locate Robinson as he drove further into an extremely large desert area. Police then searched that area for hours with no success. So this is all on June 23rd. His family stated that he usually doesn't go more than 6 hours without contacting somebody, and I believe they reported him missing that day. Now the following day, June 24th, police tell Daniel's father to check his social media and confirm that all the photos on his son's Instagram had been deleted since his disappearance. So let's pause here for a second and let me just tell you some more bizarre instances and details. This is really just the beginning, and there's been multiple reports with regards to family, friends, people that have seen him at restaurants, and a woman that he was doing Instacart deliveries for. According to the police report, multiple of Robinson's friends and family members and a waitress at Waffle House he had visited 2 days before he disappeared reported odd behavior leading up to his disappearance. Most commonly, he was described as being off. On the same day, he had texted his sister that he had an emergency but neglected to answer any of her calls in response, according to the police report. Robinson's sister also said one time he went over to her apartment and sat in silence for 30 minutes before getting up and leaving. His dad told police, that's one of the stories that I was talking about as well, that is, and I haven't listened to the full press conference, so I'm curious to hear what they have to say, but there's multiple accounts that there was something kind of weird going on. Now they're saying there's nothing weird going on. I'm somebody, I just look at all the details of the different articles, and who knows, the articles could have it wrong too. But I look at all the details, and I'm like, what's contradicting, what's overlapping, what doesn't make sense, and what's what, you know what I'm saying? that in the weeks leading up to his disappearance, Robinson had told him that he met a woman and was in love with her. Robinson II, which is like the father, found this strange since his son didn't appear to know anything about the woman. A co-worker told police that Robinson had mentioned something about a girl, specifically about wanting a woman he liked and couldn't have, but overall wasn't making sense when talking about her. Robinson had made contact with a woman prior to his disappearance, according to police report. Robinson was her Instacart delivery person, and she invited him into her home when he arrived with her delivery because he seemed friendly, she told police. After exchanging phone numbers, Robinson showed up at her home, which even to me, this story is kind of weird. What kind of person, I mean, maybe that's normal over there. I don't know if anybody's ever had Instacart or whatever delivered. Who takes, like, all right, come inside, chill, let's hang out or whatever. You know, that was kind of weird too. That story, I thought. We're going to get into the supposed text messages too, announced a few times. He then told her he loved her, according to the police report. She asked him to stop contacting her, and he didn't again.
Daniel was last seen by a coworker on June 23rd, and according to this police report, was acting odd at his job site just before driving away. But in the days prior, the report says Daniel was also behaving oddly with a woman he'd met while working a side job for a food delivery service. After only a few days, texts revealed he'd show up unannounced. The report says he told family that he was in love with her. It also says photos on his Instagram account appear to have been removed since he'd gone missing.
On June 24th as well, which I have multiple varying dates depending on which article you look at. It's surprising that all these news articles have different dates varying by 1 or 2 days. But on June 24th, the police were dispatched to Daniel's home. They did not enter. They did enter, though, July 6th or the 7th, depending on what article you read, which is a pretty long time from, and I think this is his sibling, one of his siblings. The initial time that he went missing, June 23rd, and now July 6th or 7th is when they entered the apartment. And from there, we get to the vehicle. July 19th, depending on where you look at, but according to Insider as well as the official release from police, the vehicle was found July 19th, 2021. Now, the situation with that, on July 19, 2021, a landowner spotted Daniel's Jeep in a ravine. Because of the rough terrain, the vehicle was not clearly visible to crews searching by air or on foot. The vehicle had significant damage. Later that month, on July 31st, 2021, a human skull was located in the area of where the Jeep had been recovered. It was later determined the remains do not belong to Daniel. Now, there's a couple of things to unpack with this, and I want you to pay attention because of the clip I'm going to play to you, because there's kind of confusion everywhere and clarifications everywhere and dates everywhere. It states here from the police report, no additional human remains have been found despite online reports claiming otherwise. Other remains recovered during searches were determined to be animal bones. So there was a human skull and there's animal bones. Police did their own searches, as well as Daniel's father had volunteers and they were doing searches, and he hired a private investigator. Daniel's cell phone, wallet, keys, clothes were all found in his vehicle. And police are saying no foul play. Super bizarre.
Is it true that your group, let's say, have found the remains of 5 or maybe 6 people in your search for your son, but none of them were him?
Yes, well, we had 7 searches, 7 weeks of searches. I created a search full of volunteers who worked vigorously out in the desert. We covered a lot of ground around the last places, the last spot that my son was seen, which is the well site. Then when the vehicle showed up, we also covered those areas. And in those searches, yes, we recovered what appeared to be human remains. We documented them, take pictures, and turn all of those over to the Buckeye Police Department, including a skull that was found.
A skull was found near his car, but that is not your son, correct?
That is correct.
According to Buckeye Police Department, they stated that leading up to finding Robinson's vehicle, they conducted 4 ground searches and 2 aerial searches. After finding the car, they conducted 2 more ground searches on July 21st. But, as you remember, it was the rancher that actually found the vehicle, and then I guess they had to send people there to the vehicle. And speaking of the vehicle, it's really interesting what this private investigator had to say with regards to the diagnostics and readings and the instruments of this vehicle.
Pressing police for a more thorough investigation, like fingerprinting Daniel's Jeep.
I asked how can they be sure that my son was driving the vehicle without doing forensics work. And the reply was that it was my son's vehicle. It is.
There was even contradictions about the remains that were found. I think I edited it out of this video because I was just like, I don't want to, there was just a bunch of stuff that I saw. I also feel like this video that I did is slept on. I worked really hard on this video, and this video was like relevant even to this day, like with details and everything. I mean, I covered a lot in a compact amount of time, 17 minutes.
It's obvious he was driving.
He also points to what he calls concerning conversations, like a detective suggesting his son wanted to vanish.
But maybe he wanted to be away from his family, to join the monastery, and become a monk.
But then you get
That's
the
what I was
black
told.
box from the Jeep that he was driving. And it turns out, tell me if I have it wrong, that there was some kind of collision. But that after the collision, the car was driven another 11 miles. And that there were other signs of collisions. And that once the car was in the ravine, somebody attempted to restart it almost 40 times. Is that all accurate?
That is correct.